Very popular in this part of the world, of course. Susanna and Petri. In the Europeans, they finished 4th overall. In last year's World Championship, they were 4th. Susanna Rahkamo and Petri Kokko. In the Europeans, they were 5th in the first of the compulsory dances. This, incidentally, is their 9th year of competition. They first competed in 1986. Their best ever was in 93 when they were European bronze medalists. They're very, very popular.
And they gave a performance there which should threaten the current leaders and give an indication of the quality to come. In the last group, in which Jayne, Torvill and Christopher Dean will be the first to skate.
Jayne, Torvill, Christopher
The 15th couple. In the background, you could perhaps hear the applause for Torvill and Dean on the ice as their names were announced.
Representing Russia, Maia Usova, Alexander Zhulin. Representing United States of America,
You don't need to be told. The change of costume, not the white tuxedo. Let's check the marks of the Finns. 5 6s, 3 of them, 5-5. Not only did they threaten the lead, but they have taken over in front of Krylova and Fedorov of Russia. 2 other Russian couples on the ice in the warm-up. The main competition to Torvill and Dean.
On the ice, representing Great Britain, Jayne, Torvill, Christopher Dean.
Well, that's the sort of reception they've always been getting over the years. Jayne, Torvill and Christopher Dean back again. And a roar of applause for Jayne Torvill and Christopher Dean as they finish their first compulsory dance of these Olympic Games, the Starlight Waltz. They looked good, looked much more relaxed than they have been for several days.
New leaders, surely. Much more lilting. Look at the lowering of the shoulder. And they added the few touches, the arm movements, everything together. Full of confidence. Yet they are under a lot of pressure here. 5-7, says Mary Parry. 5-6 has come up as well. They're in the lead, of course. But 3 of the judges preferred the Finns.
Thank you.
And we'll be back for more figure skating after the break.
On the ice, representing Russia, Oksana Grishuk, Evgeny Platov.
And here come the 2 dancers who are expected to be Jayne and Chris's strongest opponents, Oksana Gritschuk and Evgeny Platov. You may remember they were first in the free dance in the Europeans, and they finished second. Representing Russia, certainly a smooth performance by Oksana Gritschuk and Evgeny Platov. Remembering that in the Europeans they've been medalists. Bronze 2 years ago, silver last year, and silver in the world. They have got form behind them, they've got form to give.
And had they done just slightly better at the compulsory dances and the original dance in the European Championship, their success in the free dance portion of that competition would have been decisive. They would now be European champions. Really very difficult for the 8 ladies and 1 gentleman to spot the differences. But that's what they have to do. First of the 2 Russians, couple of 5/8s and then 2 more 5/8s. The judges prefer Gritschuk and Platov to Torvill and Dean. 8 of the 9 judges have gone for the first of the leading Russians that we've seen. And they will be followed on the ice by the world champions. There's a competition between Russia and Britain. There's equally a competition between the 2 Russian couples.
On the ice, representing Russia, Maia Usova, Alexander Zhulin.
And the well-known figures, Maia Usova, Alexander Zhulin. Last year, European champions and world champions, and the year before, bronze medalists in the Olympic Games. This year, bronze medalists in Europe. but they were first in this particular dance. Usova, Alexander Zhulin. Well, one can't say that one envies the judges. They've got a really tough job to sort these two out from Grishuk and Platov. It's going to be very, very close indeed.
Slightly more studied performance, perhaps, particularly from him. This is the view that the judges will be getting, what their eyes will be on. You have to say they're nicely together there. Torvill and Dean were third after the first compulsory dance in Copenhagen. Then the first compulsory was a paso doble. Now it's the Starlight Waltz. 4 5/8s were given to Grishuk and Platov. Torvill and Dean managed only 1 5.7. 4 5.8s given again, which means that Torvill and Dean have dropped to third, and Usova and Zhulin have taken over at the top. There is quite a split among the judges, just by a majority of 1. Usova and Zhulin at the moment leading. That's the position then at the end of the first compulsory dance. Torvill and Dean in third place, having to do a very good blues. Well, that's all from the Hammer Amphitheatre for the moment.
So, Susanna Rahkamo and Petri Kokko. I could almost say almost local favourites. Fourth in the first dance after the Russians and Jayne and Chris. Fourth in Europe. I think that was a smile of happiness, as opposed to a smile of, well, perhaps, or not. So far, of the skaters we've seen, personally, I think they set the standard of this first group. They've always moved around the ice very well, with their timing excellent. Just haven't managed to get really right in there. But now, perhaps, it's come.
Jayne, Torvill and Christopher Dean waiting to come on with the next group of 5 couples, having been able to see the end of that performance by the Finns, which has certainly lifted the crowd, heightened the atmosphere, and indeed they're applauding the Finns off the ice. Certain amount of work for the youngsters around removing the flowers too. They are a very nice partnership, these two. As I said, Jayne and Chris helped with some of their choreography at the time when the accusation was that a lot of people were dying on the ice in the free programs. They did some very interesting programs indeed, and look how well they are together here. It's quite a considerable notch up from the Canadians who lead at this stage in this blues, much more sultry in performance. It's confirmed in the marks. 2 5.5s to start. The French judge gives the third, the Canadian judge gives the fourth. Martin Scott-Nicky, their coach.
5-3, 5-5, 5-5, 5-3, 5-5. Thank you.
But now, the clapping has started. They're waiting for the announcement.
On the ice, representing Great Britain, Jayne, Torvill, Christopher Dean.
And once again, a very nice welcome onto the ice. Remembering they were third in the first dance, and now here's the second. Well, that was quite a novel finish. A novel finish to a very, very smooth program. Well, they looked a little more relaxed that time, I thought, and I thought they skated very well. But of course, it's those 9 people down there, isn't it?
Yes, the expression seemed to be, we've done our bit. Now you decide. Tell us what was wrong with that. I'm sure we'd all like to know. Compulsories are over for Torvill and Dean. The most difficult part for them after 10 years. I'm sure that Robin Cousins wouldn't fancy now being asked to go back and do the compulsory figures. Well, that's what they've had to do with the compulsory dancers. That's their equivalent. They finished in second place in the blues in the European Championship, behind Usova, Zhulin. They'll be hoping to do better than that but they've had the disadvantage of always going first. Only 1.58 and a 5.3 from Canada. That will not be good enough. 5.7 from the French judge. They're going to have to come from behind, I fear.
5.5, 5.3. Thank you.
In the lead at the moment with 8 of the judges, but not with the judge from Canada.
On the ice, representing France, Sophie Moniotte, Pascal Lavanchy.
So Sophie Moniotte, Pascal Lavanchy, 5th in the first dance. In the Europeans, they were 6th in the second dance. Sophie Moniotte, Pascal Lavanchy complete their blues, and the young ladies come on again for the flowers that are coming down behind them. Let's hope that nothing falls out again this time. But for Sophie and Pascal, it was a smooth program.
Just thinking, if we're seeing this number of bouquets on the ice during the compulsory dances, what on earth is going to happen in the free dance? Might be the longest competition of all time. Good performance of the French. It contained one small error, which they may well have escaped.
Vi får da karakterene 5,3, 5,4, 5,3,
5.6 from the French judge, the high point, down to 5.1 from the Canadian judge, who's marking down compared with the others. Of course, it's where he places the skaters in order that counts. At the moment, the French are in 3rd place, behind Torvill and Dean and the Rahkamo and Kokko.
Well, there was something else on the ice.
Representing Russia,
No.
Oksana,
Gritschuk and Komponosov, the coaches of Gritschuk and Platov, as they come on for their second compulsory dance, having finished 2nd in the first one, and really setting a very high standard indeed. was quite a spectacular finish to a very, very smooth program. Well, they've won silver medals and silver medals and silver medals, and Europeans and Worlds and Europeans, and remembering they were in second place. It's really going to be between them and Usova and Zhulin as it stands at the moment, there's no doubt.
In the past, there has been a tendency for judges to view the best in one dance and then finding the same couple the best in the next dance. Though that wasn't true in the European competition. Legs weren't quite together there. Be somewhat to Chris and Jayne's advantage, assuming that this couple are going to be placed ahead of them, that the Russians divide the two compulsory dances. Well, the heads are together, the hands are reaching for each other, but frankly that picture doesn't tell very much from the point of view of judgment. 5-9 from the French judge, and 4 5.8s to go with that 5.9.
5-8, 5-8.
Obviously into the lead in the blues and into the lead overall.
5-8, 5-7.
Only the British judge doesn't think they should be first. Pressure on the world champions.
Russia, Maia Usova, Alexander Zhulin.
Which means that all the pressure is on Maia Usova and Alexander Zhulin now. They've just seen their teammates skate superbly. They were first in the first dance. They need to be first again if they're going to hold that lead. And only perfect ice dancing will do that. Maia Usova, Alexander Zhulin. Well, we've all got to hold our breath now to see which of those two couples those 9 judges feel is the best. Very, very difficult to separate them. They both showed Russian ice dancing at its best.
But it is so close that one has to ask the question, how could the Canadian judge give Torvill and Dean a 5.3? Really does make it a bit of a nonsense in this neutral's opinion. Very upright. Alexander Zhulin. over from Klimova and Ponomarenko. And their coach liked them very much, Natalia Dubova. Coaches do that from time to time. Let's have a look. Oh, 2 5.9s. 5.7s, 5.8s. Well, the Canadian judge, in fairness to the lady, is marking hard here too at 5.4. And she has them only third. And the Russian couples are tied in first place with Torvill and Dean in third. Well, that's all from the Hammer Amphitheatre for now.